So this is a more complicated rig. This is the full control rig for the model that you saw me model in the previous videos. Even the model itself is more complicated because I have some separation in the beak in order to get the beak to animate, and I also can have some feet here that I'm able to animate. This skeleton, you can also tell, is a little bit more complicated as well. So you have this to explore and to look at as a file that I've included. But this is the final kind of control rig if you wanted to build a more complex and robust rig and go through the entire process of actually generating a kind of character controller. And what this has that the other didn't is it has a number of curves here that are these controllers that then are associated by what are called constraints. What we do is we rotate the controllers, and by doing that, that will then in turn rotate those joints and animate this model. So we'll show you this whole process of building this rig, but let me show you how to animate a flight cycle here and how to add keys in order to do that. So again, here I have my timeline set to 24 frames per second. And I do have here in my outliner, everything is very organized. I have all of my geometry in a group. I have all of my joint hierarchy, and then I have all of the controls here. And each one of these are this kind of hierarchy and different networks of pieces that compose this rig are really organized, and they are all parented they have parent-child relationships here that if you go through the videos to create this entire process, you'll see how to generate all of these things called like parent constraints. That's what's operating the control rig as it's attached to the skeleton. So to add keys, okay, and this is something you'll do at the end of the process, is again, we have just a 1 second in our time slider here. So 1 second of animation. And what I'm going to do is now you'll also notice, and you'll notice as you get into some of the videos and start to generate your own rig, is that it's really important that this is a kind of bind pose or a T pose, or this is where the model has all of its components stretched out and the mesh is accessible. All parts of the mesh are. So this is like where all of the mesh is kind of extended out. And then we can generate other poses from here. But from this bind pose, every one of these controllers, if we look at the channel box editor here, has a 0 value. And this is really important because we can always bring it back by selecting everything in the control rig. I'm going to say, I'll start here and then say, select hierarchy, or maybe I need to be at the root. I'm going to select everything here. I'll select all of these and then say, select the hierarchy. That will select all of the individual components that are hidden here. Okay, so all of these things all have a 0 rotation value on them. And this is how we get our, so no matter what we do to deform this, we can always bring it back to this basic pose by zeroing things out. Okay, so what I'll do is I'm going to, now the left and the right side can kind of mirror each other. I'm selecting right now this left shoulder control, and I'm going to bring maybe the wing down like this and over, and I'm going to rotate this till I feel like it's at a good kind of spot. And then that looks about right to me. And then maybe this controller as well, I'm going to rotate and bring the wing down like this. So what I might want to do is set two keys here on this shoulder and the wing controls. And how I can do that is I can hit S on my keyboard at a frame. So at frame 1, I can hit the S key. And you'll notice that up in the channel box, we now have a red line here in the time slider that indicates a key. And we also have here, all of these channels are marked red. And so that's the easiest way to set keys. Now this sets keys for every single channel. What I will also want to do to make it a flight cycle is that at frame 24, I will also want to set keys, as I've done at these, for these controllers. I'm going to set those keys. And so now it will, those keys have been set. Now it doesn't go, what we'll want to do right in the middle. So for something like a flight cycle, we start with our wing down, we bring the wing up, and then the wing comes back down. So perhaps what I'll do is right here is I'll bring, since I have those keys set here at the beginning and end of my time slider, I'll go right to the middle and I will generate a different, I will kind of move this up and back. Perhaps something like that. And this one as well, I'm gonna rotate this out and back. And now I will select both of those controllers again, and right here at the 12th frame, I'll hit S. So now I can use my playback tools here. I can go to the beginning of the playhead and press play. Okay. Now this should be refined, and it should be based on how I'm animating this should be based on, you know, what the source imagery that I've located about how my bird flies. Okay, so I'm looking at that as a reference in order to be able to set these keys on these controllers, which are controlling these joints. Okay, so now to mirror that on the other side, I am going to find some values. So these are mirrored, which means that and I want to turn off being able to select this mesh. So let me go ahead and make the geometry restricted. I just want to be able to select I'm going to do the same thing with the joints. Let's restrict the joints. So all we can do is select these controllers. And what I'll do is I'll look at the controller that mirrors it on the other side. This is my left shoulder control. And I'm going to plug in 51. And I'm actually going to, I'm going to round these to even numbers. So I'm going to say 51, -44, and -14. Okay, let's set a key again, and I'll hit S. You saw that now that these values had changed and they were a pink channel here. And that just means that it has a key, but we just modified something. Let me also make sure that it's going to match, and I'm going to go to the end of my time slider and change these values again. 51, -44, and -14. That just will make it easier. And you see now these are pink saying, well, those values have changed. There's not a key there. We'll set those values in, and now they're by hitting S, and now they're there. So what I can do on the other side is I can plug in these values in reverse. I can say this is -51 and this is a +44, but in the Z rotation, it is going to be the same as the other wing. So I'm going to say again, -14. And so now that control has been changed. Let's do the same thing for the wing. Let's look at the left wing, and the left wing by the end, I'm going to do the same thing where I want to round these 52, and let's do this at -46. Let's say set the key. I'm going to go back to the first frame and do the same thing, 52. And -46, and say set that key. And now I'm going to plug in the opposite values. So this value, and it's the Z has 0 rotation on it. So here I'm going to say this is going to be a -52, and this is going to be 46. It's going to be 46. Now I have something going on with my weight painting back here. I'm going to ignore that for now. I'm going to go ahead and set a key there for both the shoulder and the wings. So set those keys, and then I'm going to go to the end of the timeline and set those keys. Now I'll go to frame 12 here, and let's look at the values for the left shoulder. And let's again round these -33. 29 and -26. Okay, so let's reset that. And then I'm gonna, at frame 12 for this controller, and let's again remember those values. If I select this -33, 29, and 26, well, then this controller is going to be 33. And of course, what was the value again? 29. So I'll say negative 29 and negative 26. We'll maintain that Z. I'm going to say hit an S, and then let's do the same for this. So this value for this is going to be negative 10, 20, negative 5. And then on this, and let's hit S. Let's make sure to set those keys. And then on this controller, it's going to be 10, negative 20, and negative 5, I believe. Negative 5, negative 5. Perfect. So now those things mirror each other. So let's select these two controllers on this side at this frame and say set key. Sorry, we want the right shoulder and the right shoulder wing, set key. And so now we have a symmetrical flight pattern. I'm going to hit play here, and now I have those wings going. I would do the same thing with maybe the tail. The tail has its own controller here. And so when the wings are down, maybe the tail is down. And so I'll set key and set a key, and then somewhere in the middle, I will change that key and set that key. So let's see what this looks like. Right, maybe something like that. And each one of these things, to add a more lifelike quality, I might also rotate the head with the same kind of idea in mind. I'll rotate it this way, and we want to always start and end. I'm hitting S so that the beginning and end of my animation are always the same. And so something like that is going to be, and I might want to also tilt these legs back since this bird's flying, and I might keep those legs back like this. Okay. And then that's how you would animate a flight pattern. By setting keys to your controls, or by setting keys if you have a more simple rig, and without if you don't have the controllers attached to your rig, you would be setting those keys to the rotation value. You just hit S, but what you're doing is you're rotating these joints in order to make the model move.